Welcome everyone to TMoLR Texas. In this episode we're going to be exploring the Brazos River. Now the Brazos River is, according to the Brazos River Authority, the largest river completely encased or inside the borders of the state of Texas. And I'm not sure if we're going to have two videos on this or if it's just going to be one video, but we're going to first take a look at some of the information provided by the Brazos River Authority about the Brazos River Basin, and I can share some of my personal stories concerning the Brazos, especially with the places that I've lived in the state of Texas and even New Mexico, if you can believe that. So let's go ahead and jump on into the Brazos River Basin. Okay, so all of the information that we are going to be over with the visuals and everything is going to be provided for the most part from the Brazos River Authority. Some of these are updated visuals, some are a little bit older, but I believe that all of these give a great indication as to how big the Brazos River Basin actually is. And you can see in this first slide that we've got here, and yes, I am using PowerPoint, so don't kill me. You know, I know it's a lot of people look at this as death by PowerPoint, but whatever, we're gonna use it anyway. So you can see that the Brazos River Basin takes out a massive swath through the interior of the state of Texas, and it goes from Farwell, that is right there on the border of Texas and New Mexico, and goes all the way down to Freeport, Texas, which is my birthplace. Now the blue line that you see there is the Brazos River, the main Brazos River, or the proper Brazos River. And you can see that it starts up there in Stonewall County near Aspermont, and it's north-northeast of the city of Abilene, which lies there right there on Interstate 20. And I have, in the state of Texas, I have lived in Abilene. I've also lived in Baird, which you can see there. And if you look, the darker shade where it's kind of gray, where it kind of jets up between Abilene and Baird, that's an area that I lived in. That's Clyde, Texas. And Clyde is not actually part of the Brazos River Basin. But I also spent a lot of time up in the Throckmorton area. Went to Possum Kingdom Lake, which is over in Palo Pinto County, between Breckenridge Mineral Wells to the west and east, and then to the northwest Graham, respectively. So I spent a lot of time in Possum Kingdom Lake. That's one of the dams that the Brazos River Authority has set up there, and if you've never been to PK, it's a fantastic lake to go to. A lot of cool things to see there. But you can see that the Brazos River just dominates the Texas landscape, especially from, depending on which map you're looking at, it's either the Central Plains or the Panhandle Plains, and goes all the way down to the coastal plains there. And you've got several rather large cities. You've got Waco, you've got Temple, that's fairly close, Bryan College Station, world famous Brenham. We visited Belleville, of course, Richmond, Rosenberg area, down through West Columbia, Brazoria, Lake Jackson, and then finally into Freeport. Now this next slide here, you're looking at kind of how the different parts of the basin is divided. You got your upper, central, and lower. Of course, down here and along the Gulf Coast, we are in that lower region. The Brazos River Basin in the upper region, kind of in that purplish blue looking area, and then that orange is right there in the central part of it there. Now this next slide that I think is very cool is it shows how really big that Brazos River Basin is, and that goes all the way into New Mexico. Now, I mentioned New Mexico in the beginning of it. I was actually living in Clovis, New Mexico for round about a year, and I had no idea while I was living there that I was still in the Brazos River Basin. And 40, I believe the number is that the Brazos River Basin covers 46,000 square miles of terrain, and as you can see, the vast majority of it is in the state of Texas. I want to say there's maybe 2,000 miles that are in, or square miles that is in New Mexico. So this basin of the Brazos is just absolutely massive. Now here we've got another, it's very similar, but this is going to really highlight where the dams that are operated and owned by the Brazos River Authority. And as you can see, the first one is the Morris Shepherd Dam, which is Possum Kingdom Lake. I cannot say enough great things about PK. It's one of those lakes that just, when I hear about it, I get excited. It brings a smile to my face. It's just one of those really cool places to go in the state of Texas. So if you're up in the Fort Worth area, or even if you're down in the valley, you get an opportunity to go to PK, Possum Kingdom, definitely take the opportunity to do so. But you can see here that there are 4 dams and reservoirs that are operated and owned by the Brazos River Authority. Now, I bring this up because down here, when we have flooding here and the low-lying areas along the Gulf Coast, it does tend to happen more times than we care to admit. A lot of the areas, especially in Brazoria County, are flood prone. A lot of times what happens when we have flooding from the Brazos River, it can come from that Morris Shepherd Dam up in Possum Kingdom Lake. If that area gets a whole lot of rain, let's say they get anywhere from 10 to 15 inches of rain in a short amount of time, they've got to release the water through those dams. So if it rains a lot up in that Morris Shepherd Dam area, at some point that water's got to come to the Gulf, and a lot of times that results in some types of low-level flooding. It's not along the lines of, say, like Hurricane Harvey or anything like that, but it does result in some flooding. And a lot of the video that you're going to see, there are levees. There's a levee system and things like that, especially in Freeport. There's also some levee systems that are around the West Columbia area, especially around the Columbia Lakes area, and a lot of times those levees can be somewhat overwhelmed. Another river that's in Brazoria County is the San Bernard River. That one, you spit in it and it's probably going to flood. So at some point, and it's usually around Bowling that the San Bernard comes out of its banks. But the Brazos River does not flood a whole lot, but if we do get that rain up around the De Cordova Bend Dam or the Morris Shepherd Dam, at some point that water's got to come down to Brazoria County, and it does result in a little bit of flooding down there as well. So this is probably my favorite slide of what we're going to be looking at, especially in this first part of this video, or the first video of this series. Is I did not really understand and take into account that it seemed like no matter where I was at, the Brazos River was relatively close. And I'm looking at not just the river itself, but its tributaries and the basin. So being in Clovis, New Mexico, I was in the Brazos River Basin. I just didn't know it. But being up in Throckmorton, we always crossed the Clear Fork of the Brazos River when we would make the trip from Throckmorton, Texas down to Clyde or Abilene to go see family in that area. And it was one of those Parker Truss bridges that we crossed over, very similar to the one that they are demolishing in Brazoria. So every time I crossed it, I got excited when I saw the Brazos River. And even though it was just a fork of the Brazos River, hey, it's coming directly off of the Brazos River. When I lived in Brenham, the Brazos River actually forms the southern border, or part of the southern border of Washington County. So when you're going up, believe it's 290 coming out of the Houston area, when you cross the Brazos River, there's Washington County. And also you have Yegua Creek, I believe I said that correctly, that shoots off of the main Brazos River and forms Lake Somerville right there. And I spent a lot of time at Lake Somerville as well. But you can see here that, again, when it comes to rivers in Texas, the Brazos, at least in my book, is the be-all, end-all of rivers in Texas. You have the San Gabriel River, the Lampasas River, Leon River. You've got your Double Mountain Fork and the Clear Fork of the Brazos River, the Salt Fork of the Brazos River, and the Double Mountain and the Salt Fork. Those actually come together. Their confluence there actually forms the main Brazos River. The North Bosque River, you've got the Navasota River, the Little River. All of these rivers, these minor rivers in comparison, come off of the mighty Brazos. I want to thank everyone for taking time to view this week's episode on the Brazos River. I have made the decision to go ahead and to block this or break this up into two different videos. This one should be right around maybe the 15, 16, maybe 17 minute mark once I get through talking here. But the next video on the Brazos, we will be looking at some of the places that I've gone to this past weekend that are along the Brazos. We'll start just outside of Brazoria on County Road 400 or River Road and go over there and look at the Brazos right there. We'll also go to Farm Market Road 2004 that crosses over the Brazos just outside of Lake Jackson. Then we will go to Levee Road in Freeport. And finally, we'll wrap up at Bryan Beach, which I was not able to get to the mouth over there. You'll see in the video why. And then we will go to what is the old mouth of the Brazos River between Quintana and Surfside Beach. And we'll also pay a little bit of attention to the monument for Fort Velasco that's there at Surfside Beach. Upcoming episodes after that will be Jones Creek. We're going to go to Gulf Prairie Cemetery and look at some of the grave sites and headstones that are there. Some very interesting things that I learned there. And then we will start to look at the San Bernard River, and that's another river that flows through parts of Brazoria County, and we will get a chance to go into this book here. It's called Sea of Mud, and it details the retreat of Generals Urrea and Filisola after the Battle of San Jacinto. And part of the stories that go on in here is that there had been a lot of rain and it caused a lot of flooding in the San Bernard area. Go figure. And a lot of artifacts have been left from that retreat because the mud was so deep they could not get their wagons and things like that through. So there's going to be a lot of information that we're going to be pulling from the Sea of Mud book, and we're also going to try to go to those areas if possible, if it's even accessible. But we're going to try to get to those areas and do a little bit more research and hopefully maybe find some really cool information along the way. But I want to thank everyone again for taking time to watch the video. It means the world to me. If you like what you see, consider becoming a subscriber. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. Of course, algorithms and all that great stuff. And again, if you do like what you see, go ahead and share it with friends and family that maybe have an interest or a fascination with Texas history. I can learn as much as the next guy, and I'm willing to learn from you as well. You can see over here my contact information for my social medias, Facebook and Instagram. I can be found at TMoLR TEXAS. On X, formerly Twitter, it's TMoLR1. And of course, my email is TMoLR1973@gmail.com. So if you have ideas or some constructive criticism, please feel free to hit me up. But until next time, again, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you again real soon.